I got the text from my dad on a Thursday night. It was short, just 6 words that made my stomach drop. Need to talk. Tomorrow morning. Important. I stared at my phone screen in the parking lot of the machine shop where I worked, wondering what could be so urgent. Maybe something about the house. Maybe he needed help fixing the furnace again. I pulled out of the lot and drove home, watching the headlights cut through the darkness. My Ford Ranger rumbled beneath me, the same truck that had been with me since I was 18 years old. 12 years of loyalty, 230,000 miles of memories. I had no idea that tomorrow morning my dad would ask me to sell my only companion. Before I continue this story, I want to know where you are watching from. Drop your location in the comments below. And if you have ever dealt with family expecting you to sacrifice everything while others get a free pass, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, the ending of this story will make you feel vindicated. Now let me tell you exactly what happened next. My name is Scott. I am 28 years old, and I work as a mechanic at a local garage about 15 miles from where I live. Well, where I lived. I should probably start there. For the past 6 years since I was 22, I had been renting the converted attic space above my dad's house. It started after my mom passed away from breast cancer when I was 20. Dad was devastated, and honestly, so was I. We found comfort in having each other around. He suggested I move into the attic space he had finished years before. The rent was $300 a month, way below market rate, and I thought it was his way of keeping family close while we both healed. I worked 6 days a week at the garage, usually from 7 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. The pay was decent. After taxes, I brought home about $3,200 each month. Between rent, gas, groceries, and the occasional night out with my coworker Marcus, I managed to save a little here and there. My Ford Ranger was essential. The garage was 15 miles away, and there was no bus route that direction. Without my truck, I had no way to get to work. I had bought it used when I was 18, and over the years I had maintained it myself. It ran beautifully despite the high mileage. My relationship with my dad had always been solid. We had dinner together 2 or 3 times a week, watched football on Sundays during the season, and generally got along well. He was a good man, or at least I thought so. Then there was my younger brother Dylan. He was 25, 3 years younger than me. Dylan had always been the restless type, jumping from job to job, city to city, chasing the next big opportunity. He currently lived about 2 hours away, in a bigger city, working in some startup marketing scene. He came home occasionally, usually complaining about money or his latest work drama. Dad always defended him. "Your brother just needs time to find his path," he would say. I accepted it. Dylan was the baby of the family. I was the responsible older brother. That was just how it was. That Friday morning I went downstairs at 6:30 before my shift started. Dad was already sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee and a manila envelope in front of him. The air felt heavy. He did not smile when I walked in. "Sit down, son," he said. I poured myself coffee and sat across from him, my heart beating a little faster than normal. "You need to know something," he began. He explained that Dylan had taken out a loan from the bank 2 months ago. $50,000 to start his own company. Dad had co-signed the loan. The problem was, Dylan had not made the first payment, which was due 2 weeks ago. The bank had called Dad demanding $1,200 every month going forward. "I cannot afford to pay both my mortgage and Dylan's loan," Dad said plainly. "I need help." I felt my chest tighten. "Why did you co-sign without talking to anyone first?" I asked. Dad shrugged. "He is your brother. He needed a chance. You are the older one. You should understand." Then he slid the envelope toward me. Inside was a new rental agreement. The rent was no longer $300. It was $540. An 80% increase. "I need the extra $240 a month to cover Dylan's loan payments," Dad said. My mind raced. $540 would leave me with $2,680 before utilities, gas, and food. It was doable, barely, but it would wipe out any savings. "What about Dylan?" I asked. "Is he going to contribute anything?" Dad looked away. "He is focused on getting his business off the ground." He cannot afford to pay right now. I felt anger bubbling up, but I swallowed it. I need to think about this, I said. Dad leaned forward. Actually, I have a suggestion to help you out. My hope flickered for a second. You should sell your truck. It is old anyway, over 200,000 miles. You could get $5,000 or $6,000 for it. Use that money to prepay rent for a year, and you will have enough left over to buy a used motorcycle to get to work. I stared at him, unable to believe what I was hearing. I need a truck for work. I haul tools, parts, equipment. A motorcycle would not work. Dad frowned. Then carpool with someone. Or catch rides. Plenty of people do it. I felt heat rising to my face. Dylan borrowed $50,000 and cannot pay it back, so I have to sacrifice my vehicle. Dad's voice turned cold. Dylan is your brother, and this is my house. If you want to stay, you accept my terms. Then he said the words I will never forget. Sell your car, Scott. Your brother's loan will not pay itself. I left for work that morning feeling like I had been punched in the stomach. All day I could not focus. My hands moved through the motions of changing oil, rotating tires, replacing brake pads, but my mind was elsewhere. I kept replaying the conversation. The way Dad dismissed my concerns. The way he expected me to give up my truck, my independence, my livelihood, to cover for Dylan's irresponsibility. By the time my shift ended at 4, I had made a decision. I needed to know more. That Friday night, I did not go downstairs for dinner with Dad. I stayed in my attic room, sitting at my small desk, with my laptop open. I started searching for rental prices in the area. Studios and one-bedroom apartments, similar to what I had, were going for $450 to $500 a month. Dad was not just asking me to cover Dylan's debt. He was charging me above market rate to profit off my situation. I felt sick. Then I opened social media and looked up Dylan's profile. 2 months ago, he had posted a photo at an expensive restaurant with the caption, "Celebrating new beginnings, big things coming." There was a bottle of wine on the table that I recognized as costing at least $80. 1 month ago, another post showed him wearing a new watch with the caption, "Treat yourself." The watch looked like it cost several $100s. Dylan had $50,000 in loan money, and instead of investing it responsibly, he was spending it on luxury items, and I was expected to sell my truck to pay for it. I picked up my phone and called him. He answered on the third ring, his voice cheerful. "Scott, what is up, man?" I got straight to the point. "Dad told me about the loan. You are not making payments." There was a pause. "Oh, yeah. Dad told you, huh?" "Yeah. I am having some cash flow issues right now. But it is fine, everything will work out." His tone was so casual, like this was no big deal. "Dad is paying your loan," I said. "And he is making me pay higher rent to cover it." Dylan sighed. "Well, you live there, so paying rent makes sense. And I am trying to build a business here. It is stressful, you know." I gripped the phone tighter. "Are you planning to pay the loan back?" Dylan hesitated. "Eventually, yeah. Once the company turns a profit. Right now I need to prioritize growth." I could not believe what I was hearing. "So Dad and I are just supposed to carry you indefinitely?" Dylan's voice turned defensive. "You are my older brother. I thought you would want to help me out. Family is supposed to support each other." I hung up. I could not listen to another word. Dylan had no intention of taking responsibility. He truly believed that it was my job to sacrifice for him. That night I barely slept. I kept thinking about my options. I could pay the higher rent, keep my truck, and struggle financially. I could sell my truck, lose my independence, and become completely dependent on others. Or I could leave. The more I thought about it, the more the third option made sense. Saturday and Sunday passed in a blur. I avoided Dad as much as possible. On Sunday afternoon, he knocked on my door. "Have you thought about the truck?" he asked. "Not yet," I said. His face hardened. "You have 2 weeks. I need an answer." Monday morning I went to work and confided in Marcus. Marcus was 42, a divorced father of two who had been through his own family drama. When I told him everything, he shook his head in disgust. "Do not sell that truck," he said firmly. "That is your independence. Without it, you are trapped. They will control you completely." He told me about his own experience lending money to his ex-wife. Money he never got back. Family takes advantage of kindness more than anyone else, he said. You have to set boundaries. His words stuck with me. On Wednesday, I left work early because a customer canceled their appointment. When I pulled up to the house, I saw Dylan's car parked outside. He was visiting Dad. I quietly entered through the side door and heard their voices coming from the kitchen. I stopped in the hallway and listened. "Do not worry," Dylan was saying. "I will pay you back when I have the money. But right now, I need another $3,000 for marketing." Dad sighed. "I do not have $3,000, Dylan." Dylan laughed. "Then just get Scott to pay more rent. He lives there anyway. He can afford it." There was a pause, then Dad spoke. "I already raised his rent, but he is being difficult about it," Dylan scoffed. "Scott, he is a pushover. Just keep pushing. He will cave eventually. He always does." Dad chuckled. "I am trying to get him to sell his truck. If he does, that is $5,000 or $6,000 right there. You could use that for a few months." Dylan's voice brightened. "Perfect. He does not even need a truck. A motorcycle would be fine for him. They talked about me like I was an ATM, not a person. Like my needs did not matter." I stood frozen in that hallway, feeling my entire world shift. I quietly left the house, got back in my truck, and drove to a grocery store parking lot. I sat there for an hour just thinking. Then I called Marcus. I told him what I had overheard. He was furious. "You need to get out of there," he said. "They do not respect you." He offered to let me stay with him temporarily, but I declined. I needed to do this on my own. That evening, I started looking at apartments online. By Thursday, I had found a small studio apartment 6 miles from the garage. It was 350 square feet, cozy but functional. The rent was $450 a month, and the landlord required first month and security deposit up front. I had $4,500 in savings. I could make it work. I signed the lease that afternoon and got the keys. Over the next 3 days, I moved my belongings piece by piece. Every night, after Dad went to bed around 9, I loaded boxes and bags into my truck and drove them to the new place. By Sunday, I had moved almost everything except a few items. Dad never noticed. Then I realized something. 2 weeks from that Friday was Dad's 60th birthday. He had planned a small dinner party at a local Italian restaurant with a few close friends. Dylan was coming home for it. And suddenly I had an idea. I went to an office supply store and printed out an official notice. Notice to vacate it read at the top. "Dear Dad, I am writing to inform you that I will be vacating the room at your address on the date of your birthday. This serves as 30 days' notice in accordance with our rental agreement. Thank you for allowing me to stay these past years. Sincerely, Scott." I put it in a nice envelope. Then I bought a birthday card and wrote inside, "Happy 60th birthday, Dad. Enclosed is a special gift." I also prepared an envelope with $300 cash my rent for the current month at the original rate. The new lease Dad had given me was never signed, so it was not legally binding. The day before Dad's birthday, he caught me in the hallway. "Tomorrow is my birthday. You are coming to dinner, right?" I nodded. "I will be there." He looked at me carefully. "And have you decided about the truck rent is due next week, at the new rate?" I kept my face neutral. "I have made my decision." Dad smiled clearly, thinking I had given in. "Good. So you will sell the truck and give me the money." I smiled back mysteriously. "I will tell you tomorrow. Consider it part of your birthday gift." He seemed satisfied and walked away. That night, I moved the last of my belongings. My old room was now empty, except for the basic furniture that belonged to Dad. I spent my final night there, lying on the bare mattress, staring at the ceiling. It did not feel like home anymore. It felt like a prison. I was about to escape. Saturday evening arrived. The restaurant was a cozy Italian place Dad loved, with red tablecloths and candles on every table. When I walked in, Dad was already there with his friends George, Tom, and Linda. Dylan showed up a few minutes after me, dressed in an expensive-looking suit. He hugged me. "Long time no see, bro." I returned the hug stiffly. "Yeah, you have been busy." Dad was in high spirits, laughing and chatting with his friends. No one seemed to notice the tension between Dylan and me. During dinner, Dylan dominated the conversation, talking about his startup, the big contracts he was chasing, the exciting future ahead. George, one of Dad's oldest friends, said, "Sounds like you are doing great, Dylan. Already running your own business at 25. No one asked me about my life." I sat quietly eating my pasta, watching the scene unfold. After dessert, it was time for gifts. Dylan went first, presenting Dad with a polo shirt that still had the price tag tucked inside the collar. $39. "You will look sharp in this, Dad," Dylan said proudly. Dad thanked him warmly. George gave Dad a bottle of scotch. Tom gave a gift card to a hardware store. Linda gave a book about woodworking. Then it was my turn. I reached into my bag and pulled out the envelope. My hand trembled slightly, not from fear, but from adrenaline. "Dad, this is something special I prepared for you." Dad opened the card first and read it aloud. "Happy 60th birthday. Enclosed is a special gift." He smiled at me, then opened the envelope. He pulled out the notice to vacate and read it silently. I watched his expression change from confusion to shock to anger. He looked up at me. "What is this?" I kept my voice calm and clear. "That is my 30-day notice. I am moving out at the end of this month." The table went silent. Dylan's mouth fell open. "You are doing what?" Dad's face turned red. "You cannot do this. You owe me rent." For next month, I pulled out the second envelope and placed $300 in cash on the table. "This is this month's rent at the original rate of $300. I paid on time as agreed. The new lease you offered me was never signed, so it has no legal standing." Dad stared at the money like it was a snake. "You cannot just leave." I leaned back in my chair. "Actually, I can. And I have. I already moved most of my things. I only have a few small items left." Dylan jumped in, his voice rising. "You cannot abandon Dad. You are the older brother. You have responsibilities to this family." I turned to him slowly. "Responsibilities? You borrowed $50,000 and have not paid a single cent back. And you want to lecture me about responsibility," Dylan stammered. "That is different. I am investing in a business. You would not understand." I pulled out my phone and opened his social media. "Is the $400 watch you posted last month an investment? Was that $80 bottle of wine you had at dinner 2 months ago part of your business plan?" Dylan went pale. He had no answer. I put my phone away and looked at Dad. "You told me to sell my 12-year-old truck, the vehicle I need to earn a living, so I could pay for Dylan's mistakes. You said Dylan's loan would not pay itself. You were right about that. But it is not my responsibility to pay it." Dad's voice shook with anger. "Family helps each other." I nodded. "Yes, they do. Helping is one thing. Exploitation is another. I heard you and Dylan talking last Wednesday. You two sat in the kitchen planning how to squeeze more money out of me. You raised my rent 80% above market rate, not just to cover Dylan's debt, but to profit from it. You discussed my truck like it was yours to sell. You talked about me like I was an ATM, not your son." George, Tom, and Linda looked uncomfortable. George stared at Dad with disappointment. Tom shook his head slowly. I stood up from the table. "You said Dylan's loan would not pay itself. You were absolutely right. So here is my birthday gift to you. 30 days to figure out how to pay it without using me." I placed the $300 on the table next to Dad's plate and turned to leave. As I walked past George, he reached out and squeezed my shoulder. "You did the right thing, son," he whispered. Linda nodded in agreement. I walked out of the restaurant into the cool night air, got into my Ford Ranger, and drove to my new studio apartment. For the first time in years, I felt free. The first week in my new place was surreal. The apartment was small, just 350 square feet, but it was mine. No one watching my schedule, no one making demands, no footsteps above or below me that I had to tiptoe around. I arranged my few pieces of furniture, hung some pictures, and made it feel like home. Marcus came over with pizza to celebrate. "I am proud of you, man," he said. "Not everyone has the guts to stand up to family." I smiled. I feel lighter, like a weight I did not know I was carrying just lifted. Dad sent me a text message 2 days later. "You embarrassed me in front of my friends. I am very disappointed in you." I did not respond. Dylan texted too. "You are so selfish. Family comes first, not yourself." I blocked his number. Dad called several times over the next few days, but I did not answer. Finally, I sent one short text. "You need time to think. So do I. I hope eventually you will understand." I did not hear back. Work became my focus. The shorter commute saved me gas money and time. I started putting $150 a month into a savings account that was not connected to Dad in any way. Marcus introduced me to his friend group, and I started joining them for bowling on Thursday nights. I met a woman named Emma, who worked as an accountant at a firm downtown. We started talking, then dating casually. Life was not perfect, but it was mine. I was building something for myself, not funding someone else's irresponsibility. 2 months after the birthday dinner, I ran into George at the grocery store. He smiled when he saw me. "Scott, how are you doing?" I told him I was doing well, settling into my new place. George nodded approvingly. "You did the right thing. Your dad and Dylan needed that wake-up call." He told me that Dad had been forced to sell his second car, an old classic he had been restoring to cover Dylan's loan payments. Dylan still had not contributed a single dollar. "Your dad regrets how he handled things," George said, "but he is too proud to admit it." I appreciated George's honesty, but I did not feel the need to reach out. I had spent too many years accommodating, sacrificing, bending myself to fit their needs. It was time I learned to live for myself. George seemed to understand. "Do not wait for an apology that might never come," he said. "Just keep living your life well. That is the best response." I thanked him and went on my way. Sitting in my studio apartment at night, I often reflected on the journey. I went from being the obedient son who always said yes to a man who finally understood the importance of boundaries. I used to think that being the older brother meant carrying every burden, shielding Dylan from consequences, sacrificing my own needs for the sake of family harmony. But I was wrong. Being the older brother does not mean being a doormat. It means modeling responsibility and self-respect. Dylan never learned that because Dad always rescued him. Dad never let him face the consequences of his choices. As for me, I learned that sometimes loving yourself means walking away from people who do not respect you. I do not hate my dad or Dylan. I actually feel sad for them. Sad that they could not see what they were doing. Sad that their relationship with me mattered less than money. But I am free now. Free from guilt. Free from obligation that was never really mine to bear. Free to live my life on my terms. My Ford Ranger still runs strong. It carries me to work every day, a reminder that some things are worth keeping, worth protecting, worth fighting for. Dad may never understand my decision. Dylan probably still thinks I am selfish. But tonight, as I sit in this small apartment looking out at the city lights, I feel at peace. And that is the best gift I could ever give myself. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between family and yourself? Have you ever been expected to sacrifice everything while others got a free pass? Drop your answer in the comments below. I would love to hear your story. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear it. And do not forget to subscribe. because I will be sharing more stories like this one. Thank you for listening. And remember, setting boundaries is not selfish. It is survival. Take care of yourself out there, and I will see you in the next one.